The moon station was old. Rust covered its walls. Pipes hissed like tired snakes. Lights blinked weakly, trying to stay alive. Most people had left it years ago. Only one human remained, Tomel. Tomel was not a soldier or a hero. He was just an engineer. He didn't talk much. He liked machines more than people. The quiet of the station suited him. Every day, he repaired broken panels and wires. He kept the oxygen flowing and the power steady. He talked to himself sometimes or two. The station's old computer, Milo, who never replied. One day, Tomel was checking the outer wall near the ruined hangar when he heard something. A soft rustle, then a whisper, not from the wind, but from something alive. He stopped, his tool in hand, his ears listened carefully. "Is someone there?" he asked, voice calm. No reply. But he felt it. Someone was watching. He followed the sound into a dark hallway. The lights were dead here. His flashlight flickered as he stepped deeper. Dust danced in the beam. Suddenly, a figure moved fast and silent and blocked his way. Tomel raised his hand slowly. "I don't want to fight," he said. "Are you hurt?" The figure stepped into the light. It was a woman, not human. She had smooth silver skin that glowed faintly. Her eyes were deep green, bright like stars. Her hair was long, dark, and full of static energy. She wore a torn cloak, and her breathing was sharp. She was from the Velari, a race that avoided humans. For many years, cold, quiet, proud, Tomel had only read about them. He never thought he would see one. "I'm Tomel," he said gently. "You don't have to be afraid." The woman hissed. Her teeth showed for a second, not in anger, but in warning. "You'll die alone," she said in a soft but sharp voice. "Leave." Her words surprised him. "I'm not your enemy," he replied. "Are you a prisoner? Do you need help?" She took a step back. Her hand hovered near her side, but she had no weapon. Her body showed signs of struggle, bruises, cuts, dry blood. "You're human," she said with quiet hate. "You won't understand." "Maybe not," Tomel said, "but I won't let anyone die here." The woman turned and ran down the corridor. Tomel didn't chase her. He stood still, thinking. "Who are you really?" he whispered to himself. That night, Tomel sat near the station's small garden dome. He had built it himself. Only a few green plants grew there, but it gave him peace. He looked at the stars through the glass ceiling. Somewhere out there, wars were still happening. Planets were still burning. But here, for now, all was quiet. The memory of her voice echoed in his mind. "You'll die alone." He didn't know why those words hurt him. Maybe because, deep down, he feared they were true. The next day, Tomel checked the security cameras. One was broken, the one near the dark hallway. He smiled a little. "Clever," he muttered. But he wasn't angry. He left some food and water near the hallway entrance. He didn't see her again that day. The third day, the food was gone. By the fifth day, he noticed small changes. Tools were moved slightly. Broken wires were half fixed. Someone else was helping him, quietly, secretly. Tomel left a note near the food tray. "Thank you. You're not alone either." The note disappeared the next day, but nothing else happened. Then one evening, as he checked the outer shields, he heard a voice behind him. "You fix machines, but not yourself." He turned. She stood behind him, still cautious, but closer than before. "I fix what I understand." He said. "You don't fear me?" She asked. "No," Tomel said. "You're not here to hurt me." She looked at him, studying his face. "My name is Vera," she said finally. Mel smiled. "That's a good name." "I was not meant to be here," she added. "I was taken during a battle. Escaped the prison ship, crashed here." Tomel nodded. "You're safe here. As long as I breathe." She blinked. "You speak like old ones, like people from before the fire." "I read old books," Tomel said with a shrug. "And I don't like war." Vera stepped forward just a little. "You're strange," she said. "But different," Tomel nodded. "You're welcome to stay, Vera." She didn't answer. She turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows once more. But this time, she did not hiss. That night, as Tomel sat alone in the garden dome, he felt something change. The air felt lighter. The stars outside seemed brighter. And he knew, even if just a little, he was no longer alone. The moon station was quiet again, but something had changed. Tomo moved through the halls with more care now. He kept looking over his shoulder, wondering if Vera was watching. She never showed herself during the day, but little signs of her presence were everywhere. Tools left in the right place, repairs completed that he hadn't started, and once a faint, sweet smell of flowers in the air, even though no such plant grew in the station. He smiled to himself more often now. That morning, while checking the lower power systems, Tomo found something strange inside an old, unused panel. A signal kept blinking. It wasn't a standard warning or error. It was soft, a pulse, like a heartbeat. He followed it through wires and broken consoles until he reached a sealed part of the station, long abandoned since the last big storm. Dust covered everything. The air was thick and dry, but the signal was strong here. Tomo brushed off a wall panel and opened it inside. He found a strange device, not human. It looked like a crystal wrapped in wires and silver rings. Symbols glowed faintly across its surface. He didn't touch it right away. "Vera," he whispered. Though she wasn't there, "Is this yours?" He turned on his small recorder and scanned the area. The signal wasn't just a message. It was a code, one that changed rhythm every few seconds. It repeated 3 tones, then paused, then to short tones. He copied it into his data pad and began working on it back at his workshop. That night, Tomo left food and water again, but this time also placed the strange device on the table. Carefully, he added a short note. "Is this something you know?" When he returned in the morning, the device was gone. So was the food. But a different note remained. "You should not have found it. It's not meant for humans." Tomo read the note 3 times. The handwriting was careful, neat, but sharp, just like her voice. He replied, "Then maybe you can help me understand it." Later that day, Vera came to him. He was in the workshop, working on a cracked air filter, when he heard her voice from behind. "You are curious." Tomo looked up and smiled. "Always." She entered slowly. Her steps were light, silent, but she did not hide her face now. She held the device in her hand. "This is a memory crystal," she said. From before the silence, Tomo frowned. "The silence?" She nodded. "When our kind stopped speaking. Long ago, there was peace. Then something broke it. All talk, all trade, all trust, gone." Tomo leaned forward. "This crystal holds proof." "Yes," she said, "but no one wants it. My people say these are lies, human lies. But you don't believe that." Vera looked away. "I don't know what to believe." Tomo stood and walked to the nearby desk. He took out a small projector and connected it to the crystal. The room dimmed as the crystal glowed. A soft image appeared in the air, a garden larger than any he had ever seen. Trees with silver leaves, a human and a Valari standing side by side, smiling. A voice echoed in both their languages. "This is the promise we made, to share breath, to protect peace, to learn as one." Tomo watched in silence. Vera didn't move. When the image ended, Tomo turned to her. "Why is this forbidden?" "Because it shows weakness," she said. "To care for others, to speak with outsiders. My people think it's dangerous, and yet you helped me," Tomo said softly. Vera was silent. Then she whispered, "Maybe I'm weak, too." "No," he said. "You're brave. You stayed alive. You escaped. You helped someone you were taught to fear." She looked at him with wide eyes. "Why do you care so much?" Tomo hesitated. "Because this place feels less empty when you're near." She didn't answer, but her gaze stayed on him longer than before. Over the next few days, they met more often, not always speaking, but working together. Tomo repaired broken vents. Vera helped without asking. She showed him secret paths in the walls, old Valari writing, and hidden chambers. One day, she led him to a part of the station sealed by thick doors. With effort, they opened it inside. They found something neither of them expected, a hidden chamber full of books, artifacts, and old machines from the early days of the human Valari Alliance. Maps, letters, even music. Tomel touched a broken panel and smiled. This was built together. Vera touched a small book and nodded. I've seen these symbols in dreams. You think dreams can carry memory? Tomel asked. She looked thoughtful. Maybe. Or maybe the past is never truly gone. Later, in the garden dome, Tomel planted a new seed, one from an old human archive. Vera watched him. What is that? She asked. A tree, he said. It takes years to grow, but once it grows, it lives a long, long time. She crouched beside him. Why plant something that you may never see grow? Tomel smiled. Because someone else might. She was quiet, then whispered, strange human. Thank you, he said. For the first time. Vera laughed softly. That night, Tomel wrote in his log, she is not just a survivor. She is a key to the past and maybe to a better future. He closed the log and looked at the stars outside. Vera stood at the edge of the garden, watching them too. Neither spoke, but both felt something growing. Not just the seed in the soil, but something in their hearts. In the days that followed, the quiet moon station began to feel more alive. Tomel and Vera moved together through the dusty halls, side by side, fixing old systems, opening long-forgotten rooms, and learning about each other in silence and in words. The air between them had changed. It was still calm, but it held something unspoken. A connection, a warmth. Vera no longer hid in the shadows. She walked freely now, her steps light and sure. She asked questions about human machines, laughed softly at Tomel's strange jokes, and listened closely when he spoke of Earth, his home planet he hadn't seen in years. And one night, as stars hung like lamps across the sky, she told him a story. They sat in the garden dome. The seed Tomel had planted had begun to sprout, just a tiny stem, but green and strong. Vera placed a small crystal on the ground and activated it. A soft blue light filled the dome, casting shadows on the glass walls. This is what I was born to protect, she said. Tomel looked at the image. It showed to people one human, one Velari standing before a glowing symbol shaped like two hands touching, surrounded by stars. This is the vow, she continued. Long ago, during the first meeting of our people, we made a promise. It was not written in war books or history files. It was spoken by heart, a vow between two explorers, one human, one Velari. Tomel listened closely. They promised peace, not just between nations, but between souls. They swore to stand together against the darkness beyond the stars, and they loved each other. Tomel's eyes widened. They were more than allies. Vera nodded slowly. They were bondmates, not by rule, by choice. Tomel looked at the image again. What happened to them? Vera's voice grew soft. They were lost in a deep space storm. No one ever found them. But their vow was passed down in whispers, until it became forbidden. Why forbidden? He asked. Because love is hard to control, she said simply, and fear grows faster than trust. Tomel sighed. But you still carry the memory. Vera looked at him with clear, bright eyes. Yes, it was my family's duty to protect it. I learned the vow as a child. I repeated it in secret. Tomel turned toward her. And now you've shared it with me. She smiled gently. You earned it. They sat in silence for a while. The small green sprout moved gently in the recycled air. Then Vera stood. There's something more, she said. Another part of the station. Locked. I could never open it alone. But with your tools, we can. Tomel stood as well. Show me. They walked deep into the station's cold levels. Doors grew older here, thicker, more rusted. Strange symbols, part human, part Velari, were carved into the walls. At last, they reached a large metal gate. It had no buttons, no keyhole, just a round panel with a split circle. Vera placed her hand on the left side. This part only responds to Velari skin, she said. Tomel placed his hand on the right side. Let's see if it still works. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a soft hum. The circle began to glow, and the gate slid open with a deep, slow groan. Inside was darkness. They stepped in together, A long corridor led to a chamber lit with soft blue lights. In the center stood a tall monument, half steel, half crystal. Round it were 6 old chairs, arranged in a circle. Tomo brushed off one and sat. Vera sat across from him. "What is this place?" he asked. "This," she said, "was where the first vow was spoken, a hidden place, a promise made in silence." Tomo felt something stir in his chest. "This place should be remembered." Vera nodded. "Yes, but if others knew we were here, they would try to stop us." She looked away. "They might punish us, or worse." Tomo reached forward and touched her hand, just briefly, then, "We remember it for them, even if no one else does." Her fingers didn't pull away. In the following days, they visited the chamber again and again. They read the carvings. They studied the designs. They even activated an old memory bank that played the original words of the vow in both languages. To walk in the shadow of the stars, side by side. To offer light when the other is in darkness. To speak truth when silence is easier. To live as one, not in body, but in bond. Tomo listened each time with awe. Vera listened with tears in her eyes. "It is beautiful," Tomo said once. "It is forgotten." Vera replied, "But you make me believe it can live again." One evening, as they stood watching the stars, Tomo asked, "Do you ever wish you could go back to your people?" Vera was quiet. Then she said, "Yes and no. I miss my sky, my language. But when I'm here, with you, I feel more seen than I ever did there." Tomo nodded slowly. "Same here. You make this station feel alive." She turned to him. "Would you ever leave it if I had a reason to?" he said, "or someone to go with?" Vera looked down. Her silver skin glowed softly in the starlight. Then she said, "My people do not allow bonds with humans. Not anymore. It is dangerous." Tomo smiled gently. "Maybe some things are worth the danger." She looked at him again, truly looked, and in that moment, something passed between them. A silent echo of the ancient vow. Later, when Vera lay resting in the corner of the garden dome, and Tomo sat writing in his log, he wrote, "She is not just part of history. She is writing a new future, and I'm proud to be a part of it." But far above, in the silent orbit of the moon, something moved. The signal had been triggered. A ship was coming, and it was not coming in peace. The small tree had grown taller. Its leaves, soft and green, moved gently in the recycled air of the dome. Tomo watered it every morning. Vera often sat beside it, watching its slow and steady rise. "This tree is stubborn," Vera said one evening, her voice soft. "It grows even in metal and stone." Tomo smiled. "Just like you." She gave him a look, half a warning, half amused. "Don't compare me to a tree." Tomo chuckled. Too late. They had found peace, even if it was small and fragile. Together, they fixed the water lines, reconnected lost systems, and filled the station with light again. Tomo shared stories from Earth. Vera taught him quiet Valari songs, and every night, they visited the chamber of the vow, reading its old words, learning its forgotten wisdom. But peace is never left alone for long. It began with a soft sound, barely a whisper. The station scanner picked up a distant object entering orbit. Tomo checked the system twice. It wasn't a satellite or a drifting rock. It was a ship, small, fast, and very familiar. VLARI. He stared at the screen. The ship had no markings, but its shape was sharp and known, one of the silent class, used only by Valari scouts and enforcers. He turned to Vera, who had just entered the room. "They found you?" he said quietly. Her face became still. "How?" "I think, when we open that hidden chamber, maybe it send out a signal." Vera's jaw tightened. "Then we don't have much time." Tomo helped her pack what she needed: food, tools, the memory crystal, and the recordings of the vow. "You have to hide," he told her. She looked at him firmly. "I won't run. They'll take you, maybe, but I will not let them erase this place." Tomo hesitated. "I can protect the garden." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know you will." They went to the lowest part of the station, an old section hidden under broken floors. There, Vera showed him a second dome. This one was different. It was older, larger, and full of life. Tall trees reached the glass roof. Flowers and colors Tomo had never seen bloomed in silence. A soft mist moved across the ground. The air smelled fresh, like rain. Tomo stepped inside and stared. In wonder. How? My people built this long ago, Vera said. A gift, a promise of peace. But when the vow was broken, they sealed it. I found it by accident years ago. This is, Tomo whispered, a hidden garden. Vera nodded. It is the last one. Tomo walked among the trees. Birds fluttered from branch to branch, small, colorful ones, not seen on Earth. This can't be lost, he said. Vera looked up at the high glass ceiling. Then we must protect it. No matter what. Hours later, the ship landed quietly on the surface of the moon. 3 figures stepped out. All wore dark suits, smooth and silent. Their faces were hidden behind glowing masks. The leader, tall and cold, held a silver staff. Scan the station, the leader ordered. Find her. Vera watched them from a hidden camera. Her face was calm, but her hands were tight. Tomo stood beside her. Who is he? He asked. His name is Saren, she said. He was my teacher. Now he is the one sent to bring me back. Tomo clenched his fists. Then he won't listen. No, she said, but I will speak anyway. They waited in the chamber of the vow. When the doors opened, Saren stepped in first. His eyes locked on Vera. You broke the silence, he said. You shared the forbidden past. I share the truth, she replied calmly. He looked at Tomo with quiet disdain. And you, a human, why do you walk in this place? Tomo stood tall. Because I believe in the vow. There is no vow, Saren snapped. Only lies that caused weakness. Vera stepped forward. That weakness was trust, and it was not a mistake. Saren's tone turned cold. You must return, face the council. Forget this place. I will not, she said. This station remembers, and so do I. Tomo opened a small device. In the room filled with the image of the original vow, 2 voices speaking in harmony, Saren watched in silence. Then he spoke slowly. This changes nothing. Come now, or we take you. Vera held her ground. I will not run, but I will not go alone. Tomo looked at her, surprised. She met his eyes. I made a choice. Saren stepped back. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then he said, if you stay with him, you are no longer one of us. Vera's voice was steady. Then I will be something new. Saren turned and left. The others followed. The next day, the ship was gone. No fire, no battle, only silence. Tomo stood in the garden dome, watching the small tree grow. Vera walked beside him. You chose to stay, he said. She smiled gently. You chose to believe. They stood in silence, hand in hand. Outside, the stars burned bright, watching a promise made once again between a human and a Valari. Not in war, not in fear, but in hope. The station was quiet, but the tension hung in the air like a heavy fog. Tomo and Vera sat in the garden dome, the small tree between them now growing strong. Its leaves brushed softly against the glass ceiling. The gentle hum of the station was the only sound, but both knew danger was near. The arrival of Saren and his people was a warning. They wanted Vera back and the secret of the ancient vow hidden forever. That evening, Vera paced slowly near the chamber of the vow. Her silver skin caught the pale light of the station, and her green eyes were deep with thought. Tomo watched her quietly. Finally, she stopped and looked at him. They will return, she said softly, this time with more than words. Tomo nodded. Then we must prepare. She reached into a small bag and pulled out a thin, glowing device. This is a communication jammer, she explained. It will block their ships from calling reinforcements for a while. Tomo smiled. Smart. Suddenly, the station's alarms blared. Lights flashed red. The metal doors shook as something heavy hit them. They're here, Tomo said, moving quickly. Vera followed. The doors began to open slowly. Standing in the entrance were Saren and 2 others, their faces hidden behind glowing masks. We come to bring you home, Saren said. Vera stepped forward. I belong here, she said. Not on their ship. Saren's voice was cold. You are a traitor. Tomel stepped beside her. You are wrong. The leader looked at Tomel, then back to Vera. This human is foolish. You should leave with us. Vera shook her head. I choose to stay. The tension grew. Saren raised his hand, and two of his guards moved closer. Tomel placed himself in front of Vera. Don't come any closer, he warned. Saren smiled coldly. You cannot stop us. Vera spoke calmly. If you take me, this station will be destroyed. Saren frowned. You bluff. No, Vera said. I have the power to protect it, and I will use it. Tomel looked at her in surprise. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small sphere. It's a self-defense device, she explained, non-lethal. But it will shut down all power here for ours. Saren's face changed. He motioned to his guards, take her, he ordered. Tomel stepped forward. No, he said firmly, not while I'm here. Saren's eyes narrowed. Then you leave me no choice. Suddenly, the lights went out. The station was plunged into darkness for a moment. Silence. Then the emergency lights flickered on, soft blue. Power down, Vera said quietly. It will take hours to repair. Saren cursed. His guards struggled to move in the low gravity and dim light. Tomel took a deep breath. This is your chance, he said to Vera. We can run. She shook her head. No, we protect the past. Here, together. They moved quickly through secret passages that Vera had discovered. Saren and his guards followed, but the dark and twisted tunnels slowed them down finally. Tomel and Vera reached the hidden garden dome. The air was fresh and cool. The trees rustled softly. Tomel looked around. This is why we fight, he said. Vera smiled. And why we stay. The doors to the dome began to close as Saren's guards caught up, but Vera used her device again. The door stopped. Saren's face appeared on the other side. You cannot hide forever, he said. Vera looked out and met his gaze. We don't hide. We stand. Saren turned away. Wait for me, he said. And then the ship left silently. Tomel and Vera stood together in the garden. The small tree between them glowed faintly. They held hands. We made a choice, Tomel said. Vera nodded. For peace, for hope. Outside, the stars shone bright, watching the two who dared to believe in something greater. The silence inside the alien ship was deep and cold. Tomel and Vera sat in a small chamber. The walls were smooth and glowed softly with blue light. No windows, no sound but their breathing. They were waiting. Vera's eyes were calm but focused. Soon, she said, I must face the trial. Tomel looked at her. What is the trial? It is a test of memory. She explained. The council will show me visions, past lives, decisions, moments of truth. They will judge if I am worthy to live among them or not. Tomel's heart tightened. And if you fail, they exile me, or worse. Tomel reached for her hand. We will face it together. The door slid open silently. A figure entered, tall, dressed in flowing robes. His face was wise and kind, with eyes that seemed to see everything. He was the memory keeper. Vera, he said softly, it is time. Vera nodded and stood. They entered a round room filled with light. Vera sat in a chair with glowing symbols. Tomel stood beside her. The memory keeper placed a crystal on her forehead instantly. The world changed. She saw herself as a child, learning the ancient vow from her mother. The words, soft and clear, we promise to walk as one with humans, to share hope and peace. She smiled in the vision. The vision shifted. She was older now. Watching as war broke out between her people and humans, she saw broken ships, frightened faces, and whispered betrayals. Tears formed in her eyes. Then the vision changed again. She saw the first bondmate couple, the human and Valari who made the vow. They held hands, looked at the stars, and whispered promises. But suddenly, shadows came between them. War and silence followed. The vision faded. Tomel saw her trembling. He held her hand tightly. The memory keeper spoke. You have seen the past clearly. Do you accept the truth? Vera looked up. Yes, the keeper smiled. Then see the future. The room glowed brighter. Vera saw herself and Tomel standing in the hidden garden, planting the small tree. They smiled, hopeful and strong. Round them, humans and Valari walked together, friends, allies, family. The ancient vow was alive again. The vision ended. Vera opened her eyes. Tomo's face was full of hope. The memory keeper looked at the council through a small screen. They must decide. Hours passed. Vera sat quietly. Tomo stayed close. Finally, the door opened. Saren stepped in. But this time his expression was different, less cold, more thoughtful. The council has spoken. He said. Vira held her breath. They believe. The vow can be restored. Saren continued. You are free to live here with Tomo and to share the truth. Vera smiled, tears shining. Tomo took her hand. The memory keeper bowed. Peace may grow from trust. Vera looked at Tomo. We have a future. Tomo smiled. Together, outside, the stars shone brighter. And on the moon station, a new chapter began. The moon station breathed softly in the quiet morning light. Tomo stood near the garden dome, watching the small tree stretch its leaves toward the glass ceiling. Its green color was bright and full of life. Beside him, Vera stood calm and strong, her silver skin glowing faintly in the sunlight. The stars are watching, Tomo said quietly. Vera smiled, and they see hope. The past days had been hard. The trial, the return of Saren, the council's decision. It all felt like a dream, but it was real. They had won a chance to build something new. Together. Outside the station, the sky began to change. A new ship approached, but this time it was different. It carried flags of many species, human, Velari, and others. The leaders of the Alliance had come. They wanted to see the hidden garden. Tomo and Vera welcomed them. Together, they showed the visitors the small tree, the glowing plants, and the chamber of the vow. The guests were amazed. This is a sign, said one elder. A promise kept. Vera looked at Tomo. We made a new vow, she said. To live as one. Later, in the quiet of the garden dome, Tomo and Vera sat together. He reached out and took her hand. Will you stay? He asked. She smiled softly. Where else would I go? They looked up through the glass. The stars seemed closer now. In the days that followed, the moon station became a place of peace and learning. Humans and Velari worked side by side. The ancient stories were told again, not in whispers, but in songs and celebrations. The small tree grew taller, its roots deep in the soil and hearts alike. One night, Tomo stood outside the dome, looking at the stars. He thought of the first time he met Vera, the hiss, the warning, and the fear. Now, fear was gone. Only hope remained. A soft voice came from behind. You saved me, Vera said. Tomo turned and smiled. You saved me, too. They stood close, under ancient stars. Two souls found a future together. The past was no longer a shadow. It was a foundation. A promise. A new dawn.